Hey guys, I'm Suzanne Titkemeyer of No Longer Quivering and Now Just of Myself. I wanted to come on here just for a few minutes and talk a little bit about stuff going on right now. Stuff that's going to impact me being online. First, let me start with a story. Do you see what this is? It's a mango almost as big as my head. So I got to get out there tomorrow and pick this particular mango tree because these are not the little small goldens that I don't like. These are the big guys, the good ones, the sweet mangoes with the dark orange flesh, not the ones with the golden flesh and the honey taste. So I'm excited about this. I look forward to this every year, but the problem is I have to fight with the pool guys because when they come to do the pool on Saturday morning, this time of year, I can see them. They get under that mango tree and they start looking for low-lying ones to pull down. And that would be okay, except one year we went back to, oh, great. I just broke my favorite clip. I was trying to rearrange it a bit. One year we went back to the States. I had pulled 2 ripe mangoes off that particular tree. It was loaded. They were building the pool. I came back, the whole tree was picked a week later. So that's one thing I know about my pool guys that I'm not crazy about. They will jack these things every time they get the opportunity. So this time I'm going to take them. It'll be the first time since I moved in, I can actually get a few of these. So I'm excited. Hey, Susan. Yeah, they're real good. Those are my favorites. I am going to take a couple of days sabbatical. Why? Well, it has nothing to do with anybody. It doesn't have anything to do with Catherine. It doesn't have anything to do with any of the Catherine opposers. It doesn't have anything to do with anybody else, Facebook, Twitter, none of that. I just recognized today in my comment to somebody on a, what are you doing up there? Now everybody's distracting me. I realized I nearly made a comment that was not appropriate. And when I get to that point, I'm like, you've never eaten a mango? So when I get to that point, I know I need to take a timeout. So I'm going into timeout for a few days. I have a quilt I've got to finish. I've got an entire tree of mangoes that I must pick. Well, some of them, I guess enough for what we want. And we have the rest of the golden mangoes we have to get up. We have to get up and get them over to the food bank so that they can distribute them. It's nothing to do with anybody or anything. I also need to concentrate on some projects. I have an article I owe somebody. I have a possible TV thing we're talking to. I have a another thing that I'm doing, and then a possible podcast. Never tried a mango either? Oh my goodness. You guys have to try. You have to get one of these big ones. They're really good. They're delicious. But they're good dried too, because I sometimes will get dried mangoes when I can't get the regular kind. The best way to cut up a mango is to slice it all the way around and try to cut it away from the seed. Then take those 2 halves and score the insides, flip them out, and cut them off. I didn't know that. I used to do the old-fashioned way. I'd peel the mango and then I would cut it away. What happened to the days would you go, Oh, it is. It's really easy, Susan. And I don't want to get caught up in anybody's drama. Life is already, for me, it's super busy. I don't have time to be doing anything. And I'm trying to enjoy these days because this is the first year that we've been here that I was able to get the taxes done on time. And I didn't have to meet the June 15th deadline, which is what they have. If you live overseas, you have till June 15th. As long as you don't owe them money. If you owe them money, then it's due on April 15th, like everybody else. So here's tax day. And I just spent an hour, you're going to laugh at this, chasing chickens. I need to start working out more than I am. I don't know about you guys, but it definitely needs to happen here. I just spent an hour chasing chickens and keeping this guy from eating little chickens. our gate is open because they're working on it on Monday and Tuesday. They're missing a part. They said they'd be back the next day. That was 2 days later. So we're dealing with the manana here with a couple of different repairs. We had the guys come in and spray this week, whole bunch of stuff. So it's been a little chaotic here. And like I said, I had to chase itty bitty chickens for about an hour. We had a mother chicken that came in through our open gate. She had like 10 or 15 babies. She had a huge bunch. At one point, I went outside and she's sitting there in the rain with all the little babies under her. It was the cutest thing of all times. Hey, Star. But when I, kind of like an avocado, yeah. But when I went out there again, I started hearing all kinds of loud peeping. So I went out there and the mother had left. She left with all the babies but 2. And they were peeping and making so much racket, so crazy amounts. Peter, I need to do that. They were making crazy amounts of racket. So I went out there to try and persuade them gently to go out the gate. I chased those little bitties for an hour. I am not kidding. So fast around the house like that. One of them left. The other one, I was chasing it and it disappeared. I'm hoping it left. I'm going to ask my husband to look when he gets back from his teaching job. He is currently teaching English again to Costa Ricans. He loves doing that. That's another reason for me to take a couple days off. We haven't seen each other quite as much with his teaching and then some of the running around just trying to get things done. So, I don't even know what to tell you. There's no KJ drama that I know of. Where did my mango go? He must have, okay. Everybody tells me to cut these up and freeze them. I may do that. I have a giant freezer that I have nothing in. If we get enough of the big ones cut up and frozen for smoothies and different things in the future, it would certainly be worthwhile switching on the bigger freezer, right? The big chest freezer. House came with it. Came with all the furniture except for the pieces that we brought. And so there's that. I love swimming too. That's the thing that I do. And I haven't done it in probably 2.5 weeks. The issue for me is I sometimes will pop an allergic reaction to the chemicals used in the pool. We've talked to the guy who does our pools. The next time the pump dies, we're switching the pump out and we're going to switch all the, we're going to switch everything out to salt water, all the water and everything. And that way it won't be so many chemicals used in the pool and I'll be able to enjoy it more. I can't even use the hot tub anymore because of that. Because when I get in and it's hot and it's blowing up the chemicals in my nose, I just can't sit in there. It makes me, that's like instant asthma. I wish it wasn't so because I dearly love sitting in the hot tub. So now what I do is I turn it off and sit in it. It's the only hot bath I have around here. That's another big project I have coming up. I want a real bathtub in my bathroom. So we've found one that I think is just about the footprint of the shower that the plumber thinks he can put in to replace the shower. So we still use the shower function, but I have my bathtub. That and remodeling the kitchen. One day soon, I'm going to have to take you on a treasure trove look through my kitchen. I have a refrigerator that's so old that the paint has been worn off the front. I keep telling my husband it needs to happen. The stove, the handles have fallen off, everything. It is ancient too. Really needs to happen. We need to remodel in there. We're still fussing about paint colors, but like I said, I think I found one that I like. So that's all we're doing here. We're just trying to live our real lives and get everything going on like we're supposed to here. Salty, yeah, I hope he doesn't. I don't want Salty to file until I'm back. Because I definitely have feelings about that. I know last night I got on there and I was fussing at people about saying things about Catherine. And I kept calling her KJ because that's where my mind goes. We've called her KJ for so long that it's hard for me to call her Katie Joy or Catherine because we just don't know her by that name. I knew her as Catherine. So that was the name I called her in those days. But KJ is just stuck in the brain now. I guess she would be upset if we called her Krusty, so I'm not going to do that. It's kind of mean, too. But I hope Salty does not file. I keep hearing that there's been some kind of settlement offer and that they're trying to hammer that out. That would probably be the best for everybody. It would be the best for her. She'd spend the least money. But I'm not necessarily sure that she's capable of doing that. If there's one thing about Catherine I know, it's that she does not back down or quit. I don't know why, but she just goes after it. And I thought I was stubborn. Even I know when to hang up to hang it up and say, I'm going to bed. Hell with this. Hell with all y'all. So she does not have that ability, which I find that really curious because I think most of us have some kind of good idea about what our limit is. Like me knowing after an hour I had to just stop because I was sweat soaked. My hair was wet from the shower I took earlier from getting in the pool. And here I was getting all sweaty all over again. So now I got to take another shower. But like I said, I'm not sure she knows where the limits are for her. And that's something really dangerous. If I could recommend you guys do anything, it's to know where your limits are and to enforce them. Your limits, your boundaries, and you do what you got to do for you. That's the big lesson that Marcel has taught me through the years. I have to take care of myself because nobody else will. I'm kind of the lone stranger on knowing what I need when I need it and doing it. So here's what I need. Salty, please don't refile in the next few days because I could not handle it. I'm also trying to jumpstart doing some writing. I have taken copious notes on this whole thing with Tati and KJ. Catherine. With the eye or doing something with it because it's such a bizarre story that you couldn't make this stuff up. If you were writing a fictional story about online behavior, I don't know where it's going to lead, Susan. I'm taking a lot of notes. I don't know where this is going to lead. I don't know. Oh, stinky. It's on page. I don't know where this is going to lead. I don't know if this is going to lead to a book or this is going to be one of those things that sits in my computer unheralded, unpublished, on anything. I have several books like that I've written. They're all fictional things. One of them is about zombies of all dumb things, zombies in rural West Virginia, and somehow they think that it's not zombies, it's guys being raised from the dead, like Jesus. So everybody wants their Jesus zombie. So it's a very dark black comedy. I've got a pile of that stuff in my computer. So I don't know if that's going to end up there or not. And you're right. She's never suffered a consequence for her behavior. Not once. She's been able to walk away because it's been online. And I don't think she has boundaries. I mean, look at the stuff she talks about. I mean, I know I talk about my day-to-day here in Costa Rica because it's weird. Okay. Having two guys working on your gate for 2 full days and say, oh, we got to get apart. And then you don't see them for 2 more days and you call or they're not answering. And then when they do answer, it's manana, which could mean 3 weeks from now. I talk about that stuff a lot because nobody else does. Everybody else that talks about moving to Costa Rica wants you to come here and buy an expensive piece of property. You have to do this, do that. I find if you come in here with that attitude, it is going to crush you. Your chances of surviving this and being happy, I'm sorry, I'm having to close the window because the gate is open. And that means I have people walking by looking in at me sitting here because my computer is in the front window of my bedroom. And if you're looking out the gate, somebody could look in. That's fine until darkness hits and my husband's not here. I don't want that. I do have a machete, as I've showed you guys before. Yeah, I think Salty's waiting for that FBI report too. And I'm very curious about it myself. I have kept strict track of my emails since about mid-January, ever since Emily D. Baker suggested having a log, writing it down, making copies, doing screen caps. I started doing that. I have got everything since about mid-January. And so yeah, I'm curious to see if Salty gets this FBI report and it implicates various people. That would be interesting. The times that I have taken the Jordan, yeah, they are. The times that I've taken the headers of some of these emails and run the headers through the header tools at 419 Eater. If you ever have to trace somebody or a scammer or whatever, the message boards at 419eater.com are the best. They track Nigerian scammers. There's all kinds of header tools and extraction tools so you can figure out where somebody is. So every time I've done that, it's popped up as either Russia or the Czech Republic. So I know that that sort of speaks to all the weird emails I'm getting coming out of some type of hack shack. It's some kind of dark web kind of goofy thing. Police wife, he really is. I've only talked to him just a teeniest bit in Messenger, but he's very sweet. And well, he's very, I should say not sweet. He's nice. You know, that's what blew my mind when Lori Ann Barnhart started throwing him under the bus, because I could just imagine how nice he was to her over the phone. I could imagine him being concerned for her because she'd taken her medicine and being worried that she was going to get goofy and not be able to talk, being more about her health situation, being more concerned with her health situation than squeezing an incriminating statement out of her to nail Miss Catherine. I just can't see it. I see him as an old world type politeness. Not saying he's not tough, because he clearly is tough and all of that, but I can't see him being rude to anybody who's not giving him aggro first. I just can't see it. Nice guy. I want to see him refile. I know they probably want to settle out of court, but the bad, naughty part of me, the part of me that knows I need to take a break for a couple of days, would like to see combat, mortal combat. The last 2 days, hey, Bliss, the last 2 days I have watched, well, actually more than 2 days, but 2 days for sure this week I've watched the Chauvin trial. I watched a lot last week. Excuse me, I had to take something. Allergy pill. I just realized I'm wheezing after chasing those chickens slightly, so time to pop the pills. Anyway, long story short, I watched a lot of the why do I want to say Jordan Peterson? I watched a lot of the trial with Derek Chauvin. I support the police right up until the time they murder somebody. Then I don't support them so much. And I'm kind of like, yeah, well, you shouldn't be doing that. There should be more training going on for the police. There should be more tools for them. There should be social workers and other people coming in beside them to help them, because they have a difficult job. Funding gets caught. They find themselves being confessor, priest, social worker, all these roles that they weren't trained to be. That's been difficult. Oh, you spoke to him on the phone. Oh, that's good. Police have a hard job. I would like to see more funding put into the other roles of the things that could help them. To have social workers and drug counselors and all that come alongside them and help them, so that they weren't always having to go in and break up two drunken hillbillies fighting over an OxyContin prescription and other things like that, that they're really more a social issue like addiction or whatever. So the Chauvin trial is interesting to watch, but it's also really kind of crazy scary. Um, I know probably all of y'all watched that video. I have. I've watched the George Floyd video, and let me tell you, as a severe asthmatic, that's like the most scary thing you can think of is you being squeezed until you can't breathe because it happens so many times to you that I'm sitting there watching this like this, just shaking, like, oh my God, because I could feel what was happening to him. Been there, done that, been really sick, woken up in ICU, intubated more than a few times with this before I got it under control. And watching him, listening to him beg was just too much. I I just can't see any way around it for Chauvin, but a murder charge. I just don't see it. I was watching this week especially because I had gotten wind that someone I knew in the medical industry was going to be one of the witnesses for the defense, along with some other people. Well, guess what? They all got canceled after Fowler spoke and just blew it out of the water. I watched Dr. Fowler and I just could not get over the fact. First of all, he's very problematic. He also faces charges in Baltimore that he falsified a death ruling in a police involved murder. I mean, I'm just going to call it what it is. Very similar to what happened to George Floyd. So he's coming up on charges of that. He had to step down from his job as a head ME where he'd been for quite some time. So I was really curious to see how he would do. He was not good. This morning, I was glad to see they recalled Dr. Tobin. He's a critical care pulmonologist. He's somebody that my own pulmonologist had spoken of a couple of times. I have nothing but mad love for him. He came back today and he cleared up a few things that Dr. Fowler had said yesterday that had just muddied the waters as to what the truth of the death of Mr. Floyd was. Okay, so he wasn't a good guy. He had a police record. He liked drugs. He was maybe not in the best shape in the world. So many different things. But none of that justifies what happened. None of it. None of it. None of it. Not even if there was bad blood between him and Chauvin. There's just no, and I keep wanting to say, Chauvin, Chauvin. Like I'm in Louisiana again. It's like one of my daughters likes to say that her sister lives, well, not her sister, her friend lives in Santa Ma. She likes to say it's not Santa Ma. She'll say Saint Amita, Santa Ma. It's just a difference of pronunciation. I know the police would love to see more help. I would like to see that happen for them. I would like to see there be more money put into these helping situations so they didn't have to deal with all of that. A lot of that would be something you would dispatch a drug counselor or somebody that dealt with suicide threats or something like that instead of bringing the police in all the time. They literally have the crappiest jobs sometimes. Some of the things they have to do. Every now and then, I will watch. I will watch cops just for fun if nothing else is on. And some of the situations are just crazy. I personally would not want to be law enforcement because I just know that it would be a bad fit for me, really bad fit. But I'm grateful for all those people that are. I'm also grateful that they're going to hold Chauvin to some kind of accountability in this thing. I hope, fingers crossed. I don't see how they can't. Yesterday, my friend whose husband was going to testify but ended up being canceled, her and I were talking. And she was telling me how great she thought Fowler did. And I'm sitting there going, were we watching the same trial? He was boring. He just was going into outer space with these different theories. They were saying that several jury members had fallen asleep during the testimony. He was very one note Charlie. He just was very boring. Very, very boring. more boring than you could ever imagine, I think, in some ways. So I was kind of glad that they canceled the rest of the medical witnesses and they're just going straight to closing arguments on Monday, which I will be watching. I watched a little bit of them trying to hammer out the rules for the jury to instruct the jury to come up with the verdict. I'm very curious about how they're going to do that. No, I agree with the police wife. There is not one good cop that would agree with what he did. All you had to do was see all the cops from his own cop shop that were getting up and saying they weren't trained to do that. That's not what they do, to know that that was the absolute wrongest thing that he could have done. Oh, I know people call for all kinds of crazy things. I know they do, and that is what's really sad. I think in some ways we've really lost our way as a country as far as like, I'm just going to come out and say it, common sense things. So many times now I hear and see people doing, saying things, and I'm looking at them like, like, wait a minute, that's your job as a parent or whatever. And they're trying to push that off. And I think that's one of the things that I've knocked heads with Catherine about too, because she tends to go after people. And I don't think that that's ever very helpful in changing anybody's behavior. You just don't go after them. You come alongside them, you offer them options. Say, hey, you could do X, Y, and Z. I'm not trying to butt in, but I've always found that this works for me. Common sense is not so common anymore. You are very right. People, and I worry about this world. But then again, hey, Joyless Mom, I have, I know a lot of my friends, my kids' friends, um, and they all seem to have common sense, but they all also are struggling with things that we didn't struggle, that my generation did not struggle with, and maybe not even yours. I don't know. They're struggling to do things like buy houses and even just hold a job, feed themselves. Some of these kids, they're just struggling because they've never been taught the right way by their parents to do things. It's not like the old days where everybody went to home ec and woodworking and they learned like basic home care skills, how to do simple repair on your toilet. I mean, silly things like that. When I left home, I knew how to do basic home repair and all sorts of other things. Now, my cooking skills were kind of, and my poor ex husband, he really suffered under my cooking because I did not know how to cook then. But I did eventually get that figured out. I wonder now if maybe there hasn't been enough people to come alongside and help out. I wonder now if maybe there hasn't been enough people to come alongside and help out. So we're going down, down, down. I don't know if any of you have ever seen the movie Idiocracy. When I first saw it in 2000, oh, that is awesome, Police Life. My daughter, my baby, my youngest, closed on Monday on hers, and we could not be more proud of her. And a little scared because it was way more pricey than our first home, and it's about the same size and type. Things go up so much. So people not come alongside. They don't learn these things. They're not learning them at home. Just the most common basic things. And I think we're starting to see that play out. Like I said, in 2005, I saw Idiocracy with my son at a movie theater, and we laughed so hard we were crying. Terry Crews was brilliant playing the president, and said, that'll never happen. Well, here we are. We're in 2012. 2012, not, what am I saying? 2021, I lost a decade. 2021, like 16 years later. And I can see where some parts of that movie are starting to come true. And I don't have a good idea what the best way is to stop that. But I don't think celebrity gossip is a way. I don't think that a lot of things that people are focusing on is. I think some of us are just going to have to roll up our sleeves and do the hard work. I don't see any way around it. it is exciting. A different generation. We raised them right. They're buying houses. You're right. And it was a struggle. My poor daughter bought one in the DC area. Yeah. She bought one in the DC area. So you can just imagine how expensive that was because we sold ours in the DC area and we got similar to what she had to pay. And we're going, oh my God, we got that much money. I can't believe how much money we got. And we're looking at, oh God, I can't believe how much money you're having to pay. There's no support for people with children now, single parents, no grant. You're right. That is part of what has gone wrong, I think. I fear for our grandchildren too, police wife. Um, I fear for them. I may end up with one of mine here. I mean, there's been some talk of that. And while it was not my idea to raise one of my grandchildren, what are you going to do? When things go haywire, you step in and you do what you got to do. Um, I know a lot of people that are in that situation. My heart goes out to them. I was a single mother myself for a number of years, and between my first marriage and second marriage, and it was hard then. I can just hardly imagine how much harder it is now, Michelle. I see the problems people have with their kids and some of the discipline problems with the boys. I never was one that did physical discipline. I don't believe in spanking. I never have, more than just the occasional slap on the hand to a toddler who's reaching for a hot stove. Beyond that, I don't see it. I didn't use it. I tried to use positive reinforcement, and occasionally, when I had to put the hammer down and be a jerk, with my kids, the most useful thing with my two youngest was taking away the charger to the cell phone or the cords to the video game. I got a lot of mileage out of that, and it worked wonders. I would recommend anybody that's struggling to parent a child of any age. There's a series of books, and I think they even have like videos on YouTube and stuff called Love and Logic. They're really good. They're kind of based on having consequences for actions. It takes you out as the parent of being the meanie. You give them consequences that they choose to have those consequences. Then you can just step back and say, I am really sorry you can't do X, Y, and Z. That is just too bad. You just don't go there with them. Generations. Oh, yeah, you're right. And the thing is now, even coming out of college, my daughter has a good paying job. She works for a organization in Washington, D.C. itself. She's got a master's degree. She's making pretty good money in her field field of practice, I guess you'd call it. She did work for George Mason University. Yeah, so she's making good money, but it was still a struggle for her to get the money together for the house because the buying the house is such a big thing right now. And we had a lot of strategy sessions over Skype and Facebook Messenger because it was hard for her. And I hadn't bought a house in the States in 30 years, so I didn't really know what it was going to be like. And it's changed a lot. Things have changed a lot. I guess that's the one thing you can count on is things change. And it's not a given anymore. I mean, it used to be back in the 50s and the 60s, if you had a high school diploma, you could get a pretty good paying job and you could support yourself. You could support a wife and kids. You can't do anything anymore. Oh, wow. She is in law enforcement too? Wow, that's crazy. Two generations. Scumps, that's what happened with my daughter. She had to put in bids on like 10 homes before she finally got one. And each house in the DC area, you had to pay so much more than the asking price. It was crazy. I've never seen anything like it. Now her realtor is telling her because she did it in early spring instead of late spring, she avoided the rush. Apparently, right now, there are like 50 contracts for every house that comes on the market, which is crazy. And I know that's how it is that time of the year. It is so expensive. I tried to tell my daughter to go up to Baltimore. There were actually houses that were much cheaper in the Baltimore area and in not too terribly bad neighborhoods. Whereas now where she's going now, she's not going to be the best neighborhood, but it's starting to gentrify. So there's that. But you're talking, I told her, I said, Baltimore is a good hour from DC. Yes, and that's what I don't like. People say lazy millennials. Millennials are awful, blah, blah, blah. I don't see that. I see those poor kids struggling to do the things that those of us in earlier generations did easily because of the way the society and the whole way things worked back then and the way wages worked. Oh wow, that's good. She's right around the corner. My daughter bought a place that would have a place for me in the basement in case I ever have to move in. So there's that. They have not had an easy time of it. Jobs that you used to have a high school diploma for, they're asking for bachelor's degrees now. Bachelor degree jobs, they're asking for masters. They're requiring so much education, and education has gotten sky high. Back when I went to LSU, it was $550 a semester for a full class load, and while at the time that seemed like that was a fortune, it's way less than it is now. Yeah, my daughter's not lazy either, but I think still at the same time, there's so many things that have changed that those changes maybe have not trickled down to be realized. Like I said, used to be a man could have a good factory job and support a family with a high school diploma. Those jobs are gone now. And that's really a shame. My son works in the computer industry. He works for one of the many computer vendors in the DC area where he does tech support and has a security clearance at one of the federal agencies. And I'm just happy that he has a house at all. Oh, Bliss Chris, you were right. They were really hard to find. This one came with a fully remodeled apartment in the basement. So that's what she's saying that could be ours someday if we decide to do that. And I think that we're one day going to end up doing that. But for now, we're in Costa Rica. We're ambulatory enough. Like I said, I was out chasing the chickens out of the yard for an hour or so, trying to keep Stinky here from eating the poor little babies that had not gone out with their mother and were trapped in our yard and didn't have the sense to get out. They had to be persuaded to go out the gate. Ooh, yeah, I know the money you make offshore is amazing. Secret here. When I was a starving college student working three jobs, I went to work for an offshore place cooking. The money was crazy. I only did it for a couple of months because my husband, who is now my husband, who was my boyfriend then, was not thrilled with the idea of myself on an oil exploration boat with men, not understanding that I just kept to myself because the men on the boat were gross for the most part. You'd walk into the TV room and they would be making sexual remarks to Vanna White. And there were two or three other women on there. And it was just like I was backing up out of that room because I was not there for that reason. And I just wanted to cook and make my money and go home. I only did it for a little while. Police wife, it was just too much stressful being away from me. So if it works for him, that's awesome because you can really make a lot of money working offshore. That's where the main money is. And I started doing it because I knew some people at LSU where I was going that was how they funded their education. They worked at various times and went to school at various times. Work 3 months, make the money to go to school for 3 semesters. I mean, it was crazy some of the paychecks some of those people were bringing home. Yeah, student loans are crazy. crazy amounts of money. Everything just costs more. Wages have not kept up with the fact that everything costs just an insane amount of money. I noticed that when I was back in the States in March. I was in the New Orleans area. Let me tell you, I did not realize how much things had gone up in the States. Things have gone up tremendously. I hadn't been there in like 15 months, 15, 16 months. Out of control. Yeah, Sue, you call live. Hey, Sue. Welcome. I am so happy to see you. That's good because that can really put a strain on. When I first married my husband, we were in Germany and he was in the field a lot. If you're a young woman, I saw that be a problem for a lot of young women there. It wasn't so much for me because I was a little older when I married him and I was more settled into who I was, and I wasn't going to be going around getting in trouble. And I didn't. I just did my art stuff and stayed home and just hung out with people and did different things. But it's different when you're young, I think. And he's out in the field and you're all worried and you don't have anything to do. So those days are long behind me, Sue. Sergeant stood up with keys. Oh, oh my goodness. I know they don't have time for that, Michelle. But I tell you, there's a television show that was on the States that I watched a few times, just scrolling through the channels. It was one of those scared straight shows. And that's what they did. They took kids of a certain age, boys of like, I guess like 12, 13, 14, and that kind of preteen. They're not quite teenagers yet. That little group, and just took them in to see what it was like to be in jail. Most of the time, they were sniveling and calling for mama before it was over with. So that was a good thing. Every now and then, lack of tagging on my phone. Yeah, I've got that problem too. When I am frequently going into two things, but yeah, I don't know what the answer is. I guess I'm thinking the answer is we all just need to cut each other some slack and we need to come alongside those people that need the help. I can't see any other way for us to get out of this but to kind of join hands and try to help each other. That's I guess that's it. Boy, and I have been rambling for 42 minutes. And I came in here to quickly say that I was taking a couple of days off, maybe because I was just, like I said, I was tempted to snap at somebody today, and I generally try not to do that. Sue, I really enjoy your rants. I have to tell you, where you're talking the door, that is just awesome. It has been the most awesome thing to watch. And yeah, you'll get to hear me run around the chickens displaying my mango that fell out of the tree. So I got to go pick mangoes tomorrow. That's another reason why I got to be offline. I need to pick two large mango trees as much as possible because they're completely ripe now, and I got to get them in somehow. So what's the deal with BX? I liked him at first, and then we started fighting with everybody. Just started fighting. Man, I'm itching now. Thank you. Show my scums. I don't know. He's I'm very puzzled about that because I liked him at first. I thought he was funny with his "you nasty fam," and then when he started doing "without a crystal ball," I would laugh every time. And then he started attacking, you know, everybody in the anti KJ community, started calling everybody Karens. Now, there's some people that do act like Karens in the group. He is going after them right now. I know. I saw that the other day. I went in there. I take a look every now and then. I unsubscribe, but I do look to see what he's doing to see how ridiculous he's got. Here's the other one I want to talk about. Real entertainment news. Okay. I have nothing. I know very little about the guy. I'm going to say that. I watched one or two of his videos. I guess about a month ago or so, he emailed me and wanted me to do a collaboration with him. And I wasn't sure about that. I actually went in and looked at his videos and that's when I just said, well, okay, some ground rules. And I said, my biggest ground rule was he could not bring in Catherine to confront me, that if he brought in Catherine, the thing was over. I would just leave. And he sent me back a message and said, oh, I would never, 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 never do that to you. Never, never, never. How could you accuse me of that? And I said, well, okay, you know my ground rules now. And I have not heard back from him at all. So today, I don't even know how he came up, but he came up. I've police wife, I've come to that conclusion. He likes to bait people. So today he came up and I went in there and I took a look at his latest video and I was like, what the hell is this? And I don't even remember who he was attacking in the whole group, but he was going hard for somebody. Oh, I know. He was saying that somebody had sent their fans there to say racist things to him. And I didn't even see what he was talking about because it was just too quick to even see. And so I'm just kind of like, backing off from that and saying, I'm glad you didn't contact me again. I have nothing against him, but I don't want any part of that. And then when I went in there and I saw that somebody that had blocked me on Twitter that I'd been very friendly with to this day, I still don't know what happened, is one of his mods. I was really shocked because the person they were talking about is the very person that she was upset with me about, saying that she needed to develop a thicker skin. He was angry about one of Charlotte's commenters. One of Charlotte's regulars apparently had said some racist things to him. And I know everybody's on edge right now with race and everything, but he was really acting kind of out the box about it. My husband strolled through the room while I was watching and said, who is that? And I just said, don't worry about it. And then I told him, I said, that's the guy that wanted me to do a collaboration with him. And he said, please tell me you said no. And I said, well, I had some conditions. And then I didn't hear from him again. So I'm guessing it was a setup of some sort. So, yeah, I think that he's a clout chaser. I don't know that for sure, but that was the impression I got. He called out Charlotte for having her people come after him. One of Charlotte's protectors, Julie, was in there. It's one of his mods. I was just all kinds of confused. I was just like, I'm just getting the heck out of here. I'm just shutting this down because I don't even want to know. Let them all fight like packs of rabid dogs after the last rancid can of Spam in the grocery store. I am out of here. It was just so incredibly bizarre. It was just like, no. So I'm glad I didn't do a collaboration with him. Um, I didn't know him well enough to actually say yes and not have a long list of, because I've gotten burned with that before. I have done collaborations where I walked in and somebody had somebody there to confront me. Like one time it was a Duggar supporter. They had somebody in there saying all this stuff about how wonderful the Duggars were. Well, I'm never going to agree that the Duggars are wonderful, but I had enough respect for the person whose channel it was. I didn't fight with the person. I just was like, uh-huh, uh-huh. I didn't say a whole lot because you can't really argue with people who are rabid supporters. You just can't. It goes in one ear and straight out the other. It's not even worth it. The most you can do with those type of people is when they wake up and smell the coffee and realize what they were up to. And sometimes they never do. I mean, let's look at some of Catherine's stands, some of her biggest ones. Some of the times they never wake up. That's what to me was so interesting about the court case, is that so many of them did flip and talk to Salty. I was really shocked by that. I mean, Lorianne Barnhart was a ride and die, and she flipped. But now she's flipped back, and it's just all kinds of crazy. Let's look at who was the other one. There were a couple of them. Nat was a KJ supporter until she wasn't. There's been a couple more that have since come out and haven't given depositions, but they've come out and they've realized, just how awful it was. There's some good KJ supporters that I've come to know since they've come out, like Carolyn Ironwill. I adore her. I like her a lot. Um, Another one is Sue Elliott, who I happen to like, and I have a lot of respect for what she does, having raised a child that had all kinds of health health struggles for some years, and was a an extra needs child, a child that needed extra help there for a while. You got an apology from, oh yeah, what am I saying? I told you that after I watched it, like, you got an apology. That was pretty awesome. That was the only part I liked. It was just like, I couldn't believe what I was watching. It was like, this is like somebody that, if I was in the grocery store and they were in the line behind me and they were griping their friend, I would turn away because I wouldn't want to hear that nonsense. And I know enough negative people in this world without adding that garbage in. Sometimes it's me being negative. I can certainly be that way myself. Yeah, I think it's a smart idea to always stay well away from Ren's channel. Yeah, you can't blame the host, except that my only blame is I think I might have got the mic at some point, or tried to, I don't know, wrest control of the interview and start asking questions, because she just kept rambling. I mean, I know I'm the queen of rambling here. It's been 51 minutes, but I haven't thrown anybody under the bus. I haven't even pulled the van bus out to run over anyone. Yeah, mute the mic. There's nothing wrong with that when the interview is going into a train wreck. I've seen that happen many times. And you don't always know what you're getting. I've seen television, interviews where they've had to cut the mic or cut away or something because somebody busted out totally inappropriate stuff. Deborah, we're talking about Lorianne Barnhart, Catherine's ride or die, that flipped. And well, first she gave a statement to Mr. Brown, which she never signed, and she flipped and gave one to Saltsy and signed it. And then in the interview, she flipped back and said they were both jerks to her and that she lied in all of them. Oh, yeah, that's the thing, Star Lily. She really likes to accuse people of all kinds of stuff. I had pulled down a lot of the stuff I had up on her where I was explaining about her and Pathos because I didn't want to mess up Mr. Saltz's case if he had one, against her. And he and I had already said that we were going to have to talk about Pathos at some point. The truth of the matter is just very simple. She worked there under a year. She left under unpleasant circumstances. That's all you really need to know about it. There was accusations hurled on both sides. She took herself off the YouTube. Um, she had done some heinous things on Pathos, like attack Tati. Yeah, when she started stating name dropping, that was, yeah, exactly. You can't do that. You really can't. And as far as trying to change minds on Catherine, I think the best thing we can do is just try to be as kind as possible and keep saying the truth in the least accusatory way possible. The least accusatory way. I think eventually that is gonna get to it's gonna get to her people. She really is. She really is. I saw that, Sue. I saw that Sloan got all the way up to 300,000 and BX went after him. because, hey, the boss, that was pretty crazy. I couldn't believe what I was seeing there. He does seem to go after bigger creators for some reason. And I'm not sure, like Catherine, why he doesn't just stick with the thing that he's best at, his music stuff, his joking around. He says he does comedy. Well, I haven't seen any comedy. I've seen a whole lot of screeching and ranting from him. I love comedy. I would love to see him do more comedy because he was certainly funny when he did his Nasty Fam song and his Without a Crystal Ball song. Certainly funny. Oh, and by the way, I know this is kind of mean. When Catherine shared those conversations with Andrew Hall about him trying to broker a peace between us on the day after Catherine stood me up, I went in and told him she'd posted those, and he was not super happy about that. So he went and tried to friend her on Twitter, and she immediately pulled down her Twitter. Now, I don't think that's why she pulled down her Twitter. I'm not going to make that claim like some other people were saying, oh, she pulled down her Twitter because she was exposed here, there, and everywhere else. No, I think that she pulled down her Twitter for other reasons. Um, she's just getting too much pushback. I think that's what was behind the Twitter thing. And I haven't talked to him since. I'm going to have to touch base with him because I was keeping him abreast of what was going on with the lawsuit and what had happened with the Westbrooks and everything else and how incredibly insane it had gotten. Yes, Starla, you're right. And that's really the best way. That's the best revenge. I can tell you after having lived a long time now, I'm going to be 61 in a couple of months. One of the best things in life, the best revenge you can have on anybody is to be happy. It doesn't even matter what your circumstances are. It doesn't even matter how you're living, how you're paying for anything, what you're doing. It just matters that you're happy. If you're happy and you're showing that and you're glowing with it, there's some people that are going to hate that. They're seriously going to hate that. I think that that is her problem with me is that I'm just happy and she doesn't want me being happy. I don't think the Petros account was her either, but I think that is somehow possibly linked to her. It was kind of weird that they acted like they were KJ the other day. They acted like they were Catherine when the other account came up, the Without a Crystal Ball official too. There's just no sorting that out. In all the years that I knew Catherine, and I think it's about 3 years now, every time I would block her because I would just get frustrated with her. And I just was too busy to listen, to hold her hand and listen to her tale of how people were threatening her life. And this goes way back. She started with the threats saying, oh, Steve wants me dead. Steve who? I don't know who the heck you're talking about. I would block her for a while. Just put her a little time out. And then a new account would pop up with her name on it. And she would come at me again and say, hey, I need to talk to you. Steve is doing this and that and the other. And he's trying to do this. And I'd just be gone. Holy Mother of God. I must be earning crowns in heaven listening to this woman carry on. I think you're right, police wife, because I've thought about that a great deal. She's gone after Emily D. Baker too hard. And Emily strikes me as a happy person. She doesn't like happiness because it's something she didn't know anything about. And that's really tragic. I mean, you there are a lot of things in this world, times we all walk through where it's impossible to be happy. I mean, there's just times like that. But there's also those moments and days and weeks of happiness that you can have too. I mean, no, if you even look at the Bible, it doesn't promise that you won't have some kind of sorrows. Everybody has them. The trick is don't get stuck in them. If you get stuck in them, reach out for help because you're not supposed to stay stuck all those years. And sometimes that help takes a form of therapy and or psychiatric meds or talking to a friend. I mean, there's all there's all kinds of ways that you can come out of that, and it really varies for everyone. That's one of the things I've found. Um, and that's another super weird side effect I'm getting from this Lyrica. I've always been pretty happy, but I'm happier now. Well, let's say I'm just more relaxed. I'm more relaxed and more who I actually am, and I don't worry about too much of anything. It has had that kind of psychiatric effect on me, and I think that's a good thing. I like being relaxed. I don't like worrying about everything. Normally, right now, I'd be worried about everything, and I haven't. I've always been a worry wart, even when I'm smiling. But now I'm not so worried. Even though my daughter did put me through my worry paces when she was buying her house. It's like, cross your fingers, they're doing an inspection tomorrow. I said, well, have you decided what's acceptable and what isn't acceptable? Being happy is a wonderful thing. Yeah, it most definitely is. And that's what I would wish for all of you. I hope you could be happy or at least find those moments of happiness because it does make life just a little easier to take the bad things when you can find where your happiness is, the thing that makes you happy. For me, it's arts. So I'm going to go back and do that. My husband's gone. He's teaching right now. So I'm going to take advantage of that and I'm going to paint this evening. Okay. I'll see all you guys later. I'm going to go. Have a great evening.